Alright, be honest. Have you ever fallen for a scam? Maybe a sketchy online deal? A too good to be true free giveaway? Well, don't feel bad because history is full of scams that fooled even the smartest people. From a guy who literally sold the Eiffel Tower twice to an entire fake country, today we're diving into some of history's biggest frauds. The last one? Absolute insanity. Let's get into it. Alright, buckle up because we're starting our journey into the world of audacious scams with Gregor McGregor. Now I know what you're thinking. Gregor McGregor? Sounds like a name straight out of a bad historical fiction novel. And you wouldn't be far off. See, Gregor, bless his cotton socks, wasn't a pirate, a warlord, or a particularly skilled swordsman. No, Gregor was something far more dangerous, a professional liar. This man, in the early 1800s, when information traveled slower than a sloth in molasses, managed to convince wealthy Europeans that he was the ruler of a country called Poyet. Now Poyet wasn't your run-of-the-mill, cobbled together from spare countries kind of nation. Oh no, Poyet was a goddamn paradise. Think fertile land, rivers of gold, opportunities galore, basically the 19th century equivalent of winning the lottery but with more colonialism. Investors, blinded by the shiny brochure of Poyet that Gregor was peddling, handed over their life savings. People packed up their belongings, their hopes, their dreams, and set sail for this mythical land, ready to start a new life. And what did they find when they arrived in Poyet, this land of milk, honey, and probably some sort of magical fruit that cured gout? Well, they found a mosquito-infested swamp, that's what. Turns out, Poyet was about as real as a unicorn riding a dragon while juggling tax returns. It was all a fabrication, a figment of Gregor's incredibly active imagination. So the next time you think you've been scammed online, just remember Gregor McGregor and the fictional country of Poyet. Now, if you thought selling a fake country was impressive, hold on to your monocles because our next contender takes chutzpah to a whole new level. Meet Victor Lustig, a man who could sell ice to an Eskimo, sand to a Saudi, and probably convince you that your own reflection owes him money. This guy in the roaring 20s, a time of flappers, jazz, and questionable financial decisions, managed to pull off one of the most audacious scams in history. He sold the Eiffel Tower. And not just once, mind you, but twice. He realized that the Eiffel Tower, while iconic, was also a giant hunk of metal that required constant upkeep. So he cooked up a plan, a scheme so audacious, so ludicrous, that it could only work in a world where people still thought bathtub gin was a good idea. Victor approached several scrap metal dealers, whispering tales of a secret government plot to dismantle the Eiffel Tower. He spun a yarn about how the city couldn't afford its upkeep, and how they were looking for a discreet buyer to, shall we say, repurpose the iron. Money changed hands, contracts were signed, and Victor, with a suitcase full of cash and a smirk wider than the Seine, disappeared faster than a baguette in a boulangerie. The best part? He did it again. A few months later he found another gullible mark, dusted off his Eiffel Tower for sale pitch, and bam! Another suitcase full of cash. Victor Lustig, the man who sold the Eiffel Tower, twice. Now so far we've dealt with scams involving fake countries and swindled landmarks, but our next entry takes us into the world of academia, where the stakes are high, the egos are even higher, and the currency is intellectual superiority. Buckle up, because we're diving headfirst into the murky waters of the Piltdown Man hoax. Picture this: 1912, a time when the world was obsessed with Darwin, evolution, and finding that elusive missing link between humans and apes. Enter Charles Dawson, an amateur archaeologist with a knack for finding convenient evidence and a burning desire to be remembered as the man who cracked the evolutionary code. Dawson claimed to have discovered skull fragments and a jawbone in a gravel pit in Piltdown, England. This, he proclaimed, was it. The missing link, the ancestor we'd all been waiting for. Scientists, giddy with excitement, flocked to examine the Piltdown Man, their collective brains buzzing with the possibilities. The skull was a curious mix, with its human-like cranium and ape-like jaw. It was almost too good to be true. Spoiler alert, it was. Turns out the skull was a Frankensteinian hodgepodge of human and orangutan bones, artificially stained and filed down to give it that ancient look. The Piltdown Man, once a symbol of human ingenuity, became a cautionary tale about the dangers of confirmation bias, the allure of fame, and the importance of double-checking your sources. Alright, let's talk about a scam so iconic, so brazen, that it literally lent its name to an entire category of financial fraud. That's right, folks, we're talking about the OG Ponzi scheme, the granddaddy of all pyramid schemes, the brainchild of one Charles Ponzi. Now, Charles Ponzi wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He was born with a slide rule in one hand and a stack of get-rich-quick schemes in the other. He arrived in America in the early 1900s with little more than the shirt on his back and a burning desire to separate people from their money. His big idea? International reply coupons. These coupons could be bought in one country and redeemed for postage stamps in another. Ponzi noticed a discrepancy in exchange rates, which meant, theoretically, you could buy coupons in one country, exchange them in another, and make a tidy profit. Sounds legit, right? Well, not so fast. Ponzi's business model relied on a constant influx of new investors to pay off the old ones. He promised astronomical returns, something like 50% interest in 45 days, which, let's be honest, is the financial equivalent of waving a giant red flag that says, "Run! This is a trap!" But people, blinded by the promise of easy money, threw their life savings at Ponzi. He became a millionaire overnight, living the high life, buying mansions, cars, and probably a solid gold yacht. For a while it seemed like Ponzi had cracked the code to infinite wealth, but like all good things, it couldn't last forever. The house of cards, built on a foundation of lies, deceit, and more lies, came crashing down. Investors, realizing they'd been had, stormed Ponzi's offices, demanding their money back. Spoiler alert, there was no money. So, what did we learn today? 1. Always Google a country before investing in it. 2. If someone offers to sell you a landmark, maybe double-check that they actually own it. 3. Not all scientific discoveries are legit. And 4. If someone promises you quick money with no risk, run.